The following is a presentation of KSL Sports. First and 12. A total roundup of BYU and Utah football and the expanded Big 12 Conference. Brought to you by Macy's Grocery Stores. Your hosts are Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry on KSL News Radio and the KSL Sports Zone.
What is up, everyone? Hour number 2 is off and running here on First and 12. Hope all of you are having a fantastic Sunday morning. We appreciate all of you tuning in to listen to the show however and wherever you're listening. KSL Sports Zone, KSL News Radio, KSL Sports app. So many different ways to listen, or if you're listening on podcast, we appreciate you as well. Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry with you. And Alex, man, I remember you and I sat in a podcast studio at Broadcast House before the season, and we previewed the year. And you know, I thought I was a little bit bold saying Utah would lose 3 games this season. I thought I was a little bit going out on a limb.
I said 2. I said 2, and I got killed. And one of them I said, I could see them losing to Iowa State at home later in the year. People were like, Kyle Whittingham doesn't lose games at home, you idiot. Do your research before you open your mouth.
Now they're losing every week. Utes are now on a 6-game skid. Let's unpack what happened in the Rumble in the Rockies here on First and 12.
The Utah Utes post-game analysis.
Isaac Wilson threw for 2 touchdowns, but he threw 3 interceptions, and a couple of them, Mitch, especially that last one, was just such a freshman's mistake, just like keeping the play alive with your feet. You got to live to get it to another down. You got to live to play another down. And when you throw that ball straight into a defender, like, he could have easily just thrown that thing away. And I know he wanted to make plays. I know. Look, the team at that point, I think it was 24-35, and they had just gotten a fumble back or a pick or something like that. And I think that they were like, okay, look, we just got this thing back. We go down and score. Then we're looking at a 32-35 game if they were able to get the 2-point conversion. And then we're in business, right? If you're Utah, that's what you're thinking. And instead, you throw a pick like that, and then everything fell apart. Colorado scores 2 more times, 49-24. Kyle Whittingham now in his career is 11-3 against Colorado. We knew this was going to be a tough one, but, man, all the energy was on the side of the Buffaloes.
It was, and it only continued to build when LeJontay Wester had that punt return for a touchdown.
Right.
That put Utah in a hole at 14-3. I can't believe, Alex, when I look at this, and I know Utah is not, what they were with Zach Moss, and I know they had a transfer portal loss with Jalen Glover, but to look at Utah's rushing numbers, 30 carries, 31 yards. That's
wow.
1 yard per carry. That just blows me away because Utah's got a good offensive line. At least I thought they were going to be, and it just hasn't shown up enough. And Mekhi Bernard, he's tried to do everything he can, man, and that guy's laid it all out there. I don't think Utah fans can really get mad at that guy. I mean, he got banged up in the BYU game and still battled through. 11 carries, 20 yards for Mekhi. That just floors me to think of a Utah offense to not have any ability or threat to run the football, and they just stacked the box and almost begged Isaac Wilson to throw because they knew more times than not, he's going to probably make a mistake and not see the correct reads. I mean, it got to a point that's going into the second half where you thought, does Utah need to make a change like they did at Houston? But the only problem is you didn't have a Brandon Rose. You didn't have a Sam Heward. You only had Luke Batari, and it's like, well, got to keep rolling with Isaac Wilson. And there was flashes. There was moments that one to Dorian Singer was a great play. But outside of that, there wasn't much to write home about for young Isaac in his freshman season here.
How does Utah handle these last 2 games? I mean, other than just, Morgan Scalley's going to get his defense as dialed up as he can get. But the next couple of weeks, Iowa State coming to Salt Lake, and then you go to UCF. I mean, that's a brutal trip to have to take when you're already, in this bad losing streak. And then, hopefully they can get something back from Iowa State. But Iowa State is, on this they're one of these 2-loss teams in the Big 12. And they're like, look, we got to win out if we want a shot at getting to They got to win that game at Utah. Then they got to play in Farmageddon to try to make sure that they can stay alive for this thing too. So they have everything in the world to play for still. And Utah right now feels like they have nothing to play for. It's just like get to the offseason. That's the feel. And obviously, these young men want to play, and some guys got to put some tape together so they can get to the NFL. But man, I'm telling you, the injury bug has been so bad, and you already just want to throw your hands up and go, okay, move on to the next year. But they've got a couple more weeks to try to figure some things out.
It's a lesson this year that Utah's got to find themselves that the things that they built themselves on in the Pac-12 didn't carry over into the Big 12, where you play this pesky underdog role. Well, guess what? There's probably 10 other teams in this league that do the pesky underdog thing, and they do it pretty well. There's a lot of teams that play physical brand of football in this league. Utah's got to find something else. Like, that's your core. That's always going to be the foundation of Utah. But that is what they thrived on in the Pac-12, being this overlooked team. That wasn't the case. I mean, they had a massive target. A lot of that due to, and you don't know how much that actually was due to, social media. It's an echo chamber at times, but they were the preseason number one. The
right.
media was buying in to this team. They just thought, even Joel Klatt, who was on the call yesterday, death, taxes, and Utah football. And it was like that's not showing up this year.
No.
And that's nowhere to be found. And Utah looks pretty mediocre at best. I mean, Utah's one of the worst teams in the league. They're right there with Oklahoma State. That's where they're at right now. Yeah. And so they've got to find who they're going to be in this new league, and having some more intel and actual experience of how this league operates, the officiating style. I mean, that's well documented how Utah feels about the officials, at least in that BYU game. Like, having that understanding of how this league operates, I think can help Utah. We know in this conference you can turn it around in a hurry. It's not like, oh no, Utah football is done forever. But for this year, I mean, this was a real kind of learning moment here. I'm curious to see how they respond. I think what also adds to the frustration here is just you don't know how much longer Witt's got. And it felt like this was a turnkey, go to the Big 12, and you're ready to contend for the playoff, And I think that's where there's real disappointment, because every team has their down years. It just happens in college football. But I think that's where there's a little bit of worry, because the end is closer than any of us probably realize when it comes to Witt. I mean, he set an unofficial timeline at Big 12 Media Day by saying he's not going to coach in that Utah-Miami game in 2027. So time is ticking. If they want to get him to the playoff, they got to act quick, and this is going to be a key offseason for those efforts.
Let's take a break. We'll come back. When we do, our sound that we're going to listen to turns over to the BYU side of things, who took their first loss of the year against Kansas last night, 17-13. Kalani Sitake, his thoughts coming up right around the corner. Stay here. It's 97.5. It's the KSL Sports Zone. It's also KSL News Radio. Happy Sunday, too. We'll be right back.
Today's just the start of the Big 12 and Power 5 talk to come. Listen to JJ and Alex Monday on your drive home. Afternoons from 3 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
That's right. Listen to Alex Kirry. He hosts this show, First and 12. He hosts JJ and Alex Monday through Friday on the Zone. I'm Mitch Harper. I'm hosting.
I got to do that tomorrow now? I got to do that tomorrow?
You do. I have to do Cougar Nation. We tell you, the phone lines are not going to be happy tomorrow. I have a feeling.
They're
going to be lighting up Aaron Roderick, I have a feeling. Yep, they are going to be going in on Aaron Roderick.
Can't stand it. The stuff after the games that people say, well, Jake Retzlaff is obviously not a Division I quarterback. And you're like, gosh, what are you guys doing after one game?
It's one loss. First loss in 357 days, folks. You gotta understand, like it's been a minute, but it's gonna be okay. And this show, we've been having a lot of fun today.
How dare you? You couldn't just go one full year without losing. Jeez, I'm out of here on this team.
First and 12 brought to you by
melting down.
Brought to you by Macy's Grocery Store. Get the freshest fruits and vegetables from local farms and your favorite local brands. Macy's. Happy shopping. I bet Kalani would love a good Kong cone every once in a while at Macy's. This was Kalani after BYU falls to the Kansas Jayhawks 17-13.
All right. Well, obviously disappointing result, but you have to give a lot of credit to Kansas. They had a really good game plan, and looking at the stats and everything, we just didn't make enough plays, and way too many mistakes for us to come out with the victory. I think we played with fire in some ways in terms of like the mistakes that we made. Way too many, and couldn't come back from them. So frustrated, but we got to get over it. We got to learn from this, and we got to move on. And we got a tough game coming up next week. So I think the goal from the beginning was to play at our best, every week. And obviously the statement 10 was not the one that we wanted. And this happens sometimes, and I think we haven't played our best and been able to bounce back and find a way to win. This one didn't work, and so we've got to go back and get to work, stay humble, stay hungry, all that stuff, and get ready to go. I told the players that love them. I mean, the effort was there. We obviously got to make more plays in all three phases, but the mistakes were way too many for us to overcome. And but this is a difficult feeling. We just got to find a way to learn from it and get over it and move on to the next. And and find ways to keep improving. So that's what we're going to do before we head out to Tempe next week. But I thought Kansas played a great game. Looking at the stats, I didn't think we had 10 more first downs than them, and the glaring mistakes was the muffed punt that was a QB kick from them, and it hit our player in the head, and thought we had a chance to recover it, and that didn't work out, and so gave him the ball like on the 3-yard line, which is a gimme. I think we had a 13-10 lead. That was a problem. So didn't like the way we ended the first half. Obviously didn't like the way we ended the game too. So, but there's a lot of room for improvement in all three phases, and we'll get to work on that. But got a really good team. Really, we're still in a good spot. I believe we control our own destiny still, but we've got to be ready to roll because that's a tough opponent coming up next week against ASU, and they've done a great job getting their team ready, and they're in the. I think they win the game too. So there's a lot of parity in this conference, and this one got us when the I say the mistakes, but you have to give a lot of credit to Kansas. They did some really good things, but we'll just keep plugging away. So we're in a spot now at 9-1, and if you had told me before the season, would you take it? Of course. But, we still have an opportunity. For me, we have an opportunity to still play for something with a conference championship, and so that's what we need to focus on. And this is a good example to get better and get to the next week game, and then away we go. So what questions do you guys have for me?
Why was the offense so bad in the red zone? Yeah, same.
What was that?
What were the issues offensively in the red zone?
Yeah, it just didn't seem like it was clicking, a lot of mistakes, and just seemed like we got a lot of yards, and the run game was working pretty nicely. The turnover at the end of the half cost us. Settling for field goals isn't going to work either, and then offensively, and obviously the way we ended the half and ended the game, not good enough. So we got to fix it. We got to figure it out. Defense didn't start the game out right. A lot of it was just a lot of mistakes that we made. I mean, I think Kansas did some things with their technique. I mean, they're trying to scheme a lot of the stuff that we're doing defensively with the personnel, and they did a couple odd looks, with the duck formation, stuff like that. But you have to give them credit, man. I thought they did whatever they could to try to take care of the ball as much as they could. We didn't create enough havoc, and didn't. I think they ran for 73 yards, but we just need to find more ways to make plays. But offense got to score more points. Field goals, we made some good field goals. We're not able to take advantage of the return game, but we got to score more points to win games.
Kalani, did on 3rd and 6 there at the end, did Jake check out of that play? And what was the play supposed to be, or do you even know?
The 3rd and 6 before the 4th down in the red zone.
3rd and 6, you ran. Looked like the speed option pitch to Hinckley.
To the boundary.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he audibled out of the play, and then it's just got to get the ball in the end zone. You can't have it come down to the wire and 4th down. And then we had a false start, and thought we had a really good play on that one, and then it became 4th and 10. Now we're too far. I think Chase was a couple yards short of the first down, so just get in the end zone. I don't really care how much time's left on the clock. Obviously, they were taking timeouts to preserve some time for when they get the ball back, but we got to get the lead before we can even worry about that stuff. We weren't worried about the clock. We just need to get the ball in the end zone.
What did you see on that muff punt? Was it just a bad, unlucky bounce?
Yeah, it was. It was a couple unlucky bounces. One that hit, I think it was Evan Johnson was in coverage and hit him in the head. And then Jacob Robinson was right there, and I thought he had a clear path to just recover it. And for some reason, it popped out of his hands, and they got the ball at the 3-yard line. So, sucks, But I think that happens. That's why the ball is shaped like that, to make things interesting. It just bit us in the butt this time, So, I hate that happened, because defensively, I thought we kept them out of the end zone, except for that one time. And this game was 10-10 at halftime. We'd lost the second half 7-3. So, and if you look at the stats, I thought we made some march down the ball and had some long drives and where we get some first downs, but the red zone offense did not work for us. And so we just have to be better. And so that's obviously we're going to look at it and try to figure it out. But you think that from what our defense did, it should be enough to get points on the board, but I know Jay Hill's not happy with how we played, because we felt like we could have done better. So all three phases we can improve on. But the guys are hurting right now. They're supposed to, but we got to get over it. Just like we have to get over the wins, we got to find ways to be humble and not get down on ourselves too much, because we're in a really good spot still. So I think with what we've done throughout the year, we've earned the right to feel better now, and we just got to play better next week. We just won't get this one back, so we just got to find a way to play better next week, and whatever it takes, we got to get it done.
In that timeout before the punt with Jalen Daniels, did you guys talk about the possibility that he could kind of back up and punt?
Yeah, well, we thought they were just going to go for it, because he's got. I mean, that's what they've done in the past. So I haven't seen him kick that QB kick. So yeah, and then he just kicked it. I mean, we have an Aussie kicker who can actually kick it to someone like that, but I don't know if he's going to punt more now, but maybe they should. It just caught us by surprise, and even after the punt, I mean, we just had a chance to recover. Sometimes things like that happen. You just got to get a stop, So when they get the ball on the 3-yard line, I don't like that we just played average defense and still gave up an easy touchdown, So when things go bad, you got to respond better than that. And I thought we were in a good spot even to win the game at the end, but we didn't do enough. And you have to give Kansas a lot of credit for that. They came motivated to win this game, and I mean their backs are against the wall. We knew we were going to get their best shot. I'm not sure if we gave them ours, but it's too late now, So wish them luck next week. I think they play Colorado, so we'll be cheering for them, but we got to worry about ourselves and get ready to play this game against Arizona State.
Last couple of questions.
Coming out of the halftime break, was it by design to have a kind of a methodical drive, eat up a lot of clock? Is that what the plan was?
I think we just were trying to score no matter what, but I think we wanted to establish a run game and just play some physical football. They did that to us last year, just run the ball, and we felt really good about the run. Then it stalled, and we're stuck at, I think it was like 4th and 3 or so, and wanted to go for it, but then felt like we should just take the points because it seemed it was a low scoring game. We have a really good kicker. And so we just took the points, and unfortunately, those were the only points we scored in the half.
Anything else?
What's the message? I mean, you touched on this, but after a loss, now you have to go back to that and see them. So how do you see how the boys respond to this? What are you looking for?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously gotta refocus and you gotta learn from the game, but you're gonna have to overcome the feelings of regret and wish that you could do it over again. You got to just get over it. That's life. I think there's so much that happens in life that don't go your way. You just got to find a way to respond better, and we're going to choose to do it with our heads up high and know that we have a lot more to play for still. I mean, this isn't the end. But if we're to taste defeat, this is you just got to. I believe that you got to just learn from it, and I don't think I can sugarcoat it for these guys. It's supposed to hurt. Especially when you could do better, it's supposed to hurt, and this is a huge obstacle. This is a roadblock, but we'll be okay. We'll fight back from it, and we still have a lot to play for. There's still a lot. We still control our destiny, and it doesn't really matter. We just got to get back to getting to work and winning next week's Super Bowl. That's going to be the key.
Coach Shiitake sitting in there answering the questions. I mean, all the stuff that he was frustrated with, I think are the same things that fans get frustrated with, right? I mean, You saw it out there. The mistakes were too many. And it's one thing to talk about, officiating or the ball not bouncing your way or, oh, man, it's a fluke play hitting the ball off of the top of that, that helmet. Fine, whatever. But the reality is that you got to give yourself a better chance. You got to get down the field. BYU had to score 30 points to even just, really get in that game and feel like they could control it and to let their defense shine. And instead the defense did all that work, and then the offense could only muster 13 points. All right, we'll take the break. We've got more right around the corner when we return. Oh, my goodness, Mitch, is it our power rankings already on the program this week?
Big shakeup.
Oh, man. I'd love to see where we're going to end up putting BYU in this one. All right, come back. More to go. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, and KSL News Radio. Stay right here with us.
The following is a presentation of KSL Sports. First and 12. A total roundup of BYU and Utah football and the expanded Big 12 Conference. Brought to you by Macy's Grocery Stores. Your hosts are Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry on KSL News Radio and the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. First and 12, Alex Kirry, Mitch Harper. Oh, my goodness. It's the time of the week where we have to get in and figure out what these power rankings are. This league has not been kind to our power rankings, Mitch, this season. I will say, I feel like, well, you know what? Let's just do this. Let's just get right into it. We got to get to the power rankings, make sure we kind of see where these teams stack up. Don't shoot the messengers here. We're just trying to put together a power poll every week. No problem in the weirdest conference in all of college football. Let's get to the power rankings.
The Big 12 Power Rankings. A weekly rank of all 16 programs, from the elite to the bottom dwellers.
Alex, we've had a lot of continuity at the top of our power rankings. I know a lot of other outlets have, shuffled the deck a lot at number one, but we stayed pretty consistent with BYU after they jumped out to that 5-0 start. We've had them at number one every single week since.
Yeah.
But this week, it changes.
Colorado gets the nod at number one, and why not? They're hot right now. They're so hot right now. I feel like we should, when we do these power rankings, it should be the old like the old Benny Hill music, the old yakety sax. That's what this feels like. Whenever we do these power rankings, just freaking all over the place, man. Colorado.
How about hot to go?
We could do hot to go.
H-O-T-T-O-G-O. Coach Primus, go to.
Oh my goodness, Colorado's number one. I can't fault it. I was trying to find fault in it, but we'll just go. We're just going to be like the media shills across the country. We're like, Colorado, man. I've never seen anything. We coming. Arizona State, number two. I don't hate this pick either, Mitch, because when you talk about teams that have momentum right now, I don't know if there's anybody better. I mean, Colorado's right there, but Arizona State absolutely shocked me yesterday with how physical they were with a team who's known for their physicality at their place, beating Kansas State. They were up 24-0 before Kansas State even scored. And Arizona State, Kenny Dillingham, my goodness, they've earned that second spot in the power rankings this week.
That they have. And BYU falls from number one to number three. And I think a big reason for that is just how they're playing offensively in the month of November. And that offense is struggling right now. But the defense continues to perform well. And BYU's defense this month, against Utah outside of that second quarter, they were pretty lights out. I thought they were really good against Kansas too. So, they just got to get things right offensively. And I think BYU can bounce back. I do, because they're still relatively healthy. They came out of that Kansas game, for the most part, pretty healthy. Crew Wakely got banged up on the defensive side. But still, I think BYU's personnel should be in a good place. Jake Retzlaff kind of got banged up on his left shoulder, it looked like, at the end of the second quarter. But BYU checks in at number three. And right below them, a team that had a nice bounce back, Iowa State. They were on a 2-game losing streak. The Cyclones get a nice win this week over Cincinnati, and they settle in at number 4.
How about Baylor showing up at number 5? This might be the first time they've been in the top 5 in the power rankings ever since we started this thing up, because they were bad last year. They've just started to turn that corner, and Dave Aranda and his guys have they've righted the ship a little bit, Mitch.
They sure have, and that offense is explosive. It's one of the best in college football at the moment. And number 6, Kansas State, and this highlights the depth in the league. And I do believe Kansas State's a good team, but they're not really good. And I think, the lack of star power coming into the year outside of Avery Johnson, no one on this team was a preseason All Big 12 pick. I think it's kind of showing up where you just don't have those like bona fide stars week after week emerging. DJ Giddens is good. Avery Johnson's good. Mm-hmm. Who are the key guys on defense, though? I just think that, Kansas State's solid, but they're not elite in any regard, any position group in this league. And I think that's why, they're a team that has 3 losses heading into the final stretch.
Texas Tech comes in at number 9. They were idle this week. West Virginia, 5-5 on the season. They were winning all these conference games. They only had 2 losses going into last night, but they lose at home against that Baylor team and gave up 49 points in the process. UCF also idle this week. They played. They didn't play this week.
We got Kansas at 8 after TCU.
That's right.
Took down BYU. And then number 9, Texas Tech, and then West Virginia.
There you go. Then West Virginia. Then UCF at 11. Cincinnati, it's not a free fall, but, again, it's just a team that has not really been able to jump off the page at you. And Cincinnati's going to probably go to a bowl, but, my goodness, they're finding every effort not to, it seems like, at this point. Arizona climbs to 13 in this one, Mitch, and they kind of look like the guys that we thought they were going to be for a lot of the year, and they blew the doors off of Houston and Ted McMillan and Noah Fafita finding each other, and that one that's a good connection there, but they just haven't been able to get it going this year. But Arizona back on track a little bit, at least this week.
Important win because they were coming off a bye, and Brent Brennan made it clear that they were going to make some changes with how they operated, and clearly those changes inside that building worked, at least for 1 week, against Houston. And Houston, speaking of them, they fall to number 14. And then below them, number 15, Utah, in the second-to-last spot in the Big 12 power rankings. Then a dead last at 0-7 in league play. It's the Oklahoma State Cowboys. So that's your Week 12 Big 12 power rankings. And I think Cougar fans probably feeling like, hey, we should still be near the top, but after a loss to a 3-6 football team, now 4-6.
Oh, you got
to take a step back.
Yeah, this is not league standings. I mean, obviously it's going to be very different, but from a week-to-week basis, we're like the college football playoff committee, Mitch. We just start fresh every week, and our biases are not there. And every once in a while you catch them a southern accent. Yeah, there's a reason we're going to put 7 teams from the SEC in. Don't worry about it. Mind your own business. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. When we return, we've got our final segment of the week. We're going to roll out what the schedule looks like in the Big 12 when Utah and BYU are both going to play, and what the schedule looks like across the entire conference. So stay right here with us. Our program brought to you by Macy's. Happy shopping. Thanks for being with us on the program. Mitch Harper, Alex Kirry. Stay with us.
Can't get enough BYU football? Listen to Cougar Nation. Mitch Harper takes your calls Monday nights from 6 to 7 on KSL News Radio. Podcast at KSLNewsRadio.com.
What's that line from Soulja Boy? Kiss me through the phone? Call me through the phone. Call me through the phone on Monday night. I don't know where I'm going with this. 1st and 12, Mitch Harper.
If you dialed in on a Sunday morning to make sure you got the highest of premium quality Soulja Boy references, you found it. Mitch Harper delivering.
I'm giving you the Soulja Boy. I asked, and this is totally off topic. You can talk about references. I asked Foose Traore. Yeah. He was doing, this is basketball.
BYU basketball, of course, yes.
Foose, after the game, he had a career high, 29 points in the win, and he was doing the Costco guys dance. We bring the boom! And I asked him, I said, is that your move, Foose, where you just say, I bring the boom? And he's like,
flex.
Yeah, I bring the boom.
Wow.
So I'm always keeping my ear to the street. I think producer Eric can appreciate that. Keeping those pop culture references,
You're so
music.
Fresh.
I'm trying, Alex.
As I
kids
love
get
you.
older,
love you.
Look, the secret to that, honestly, you follow high school football recruiting enough, you're going to kind of stay fresh.
You're
going to kind of
listen.
You're going to naturally know the trends of what's happening for young people.
Well, I've got teenage kids, and so they remind me daily that I am no Mitch Harper. That's kind of how they hit on it with it. All right,
bring the boom. I'm getting that chicken bake after this show, Alex.
So
double
cringe,
chunk
Mitch.
chocolate cookie.
So cringe. Let's go with Week 13 of the Big 12. You can tell we're off the rails. You know why? Because it's been a long weekend for us, and
Yes.
we're glad you're here with us, though. So 1st and 12. Let's roll into what next week's games look like. And I think the bye weeks are kind of moving. We're moving off a lot of bye weeks. We have a lot more. Yeah,
Done.
we have just all games all the time, the rest of the season here for the last 2 weeks of the regular season. UCF at West Virginia. Interesting one. Two teams with the Eastern time zone there, Mitch. And finally, we don't have to talk about whether or not one is going to have to go 2 time zone travel to get to the other. So UCF, the Knights are a question mark for me. I don't know what to think about them. I do think that Dylan Risk, their fourth-string quarterback, has come in and given new life to that team, and Gus Malzahn should have gone with him the whole time, but there you go. Arizona's got to go to TCU into Fort Worth to try to keep their kind of dream of can they get to bowl eligibility, Mitch, if Arizona wins out here? How does that work?
Yes, they're 4-6, so if Arizona wins out, they could go bowling.
Texas Tech goes to Oklahoma State. This one to me feels like when Oklahoma State can finally break through and get that win in conference play, because who knows what you're going to get with Joey McGuire. And Oklahoma State's coming off the bye. That's going to be a 1:30 kickoff on ESPN Plus. So that's my prediction of the week is Oklahoma State gets their first conference win. It's going to be against Texas Tech. Yep.
I can see that. Baylor at Houston. Baylor should roll in that one. Houston, but you never know. Like, Houston's been this team that can knock off teams like so many in this Big 12, but I think Baylor cruises through that one. Cincinnati at Kansas State. I would see Cincinnati fighting for bowl eligibility. Tough spot to try to get that 6 wins, so Cincinnati's missed out on some opportunities, and Kansas State's going to definitely have revenge on their mind. Then we get into the big games. Iowa State at Utah, 5:30 p.m. on Fox, so that'll be a primetime network TV game for the Utes as they go back home and take on the Cyclones, who still have a slight chance of getting to that Big 12 title game.
Yeah, but of course, the other couple that are big. By the way, that Colorado at Kansas game, could you just see Kansas beating, at Arrowhead, all the prime talk, and Kansas just goes, no, we're going to shut all this down and shock everybody with that one. And frankly, BYU fans, you should probably be hoping for that one. But the biggest game of the week is, of course, BYU going to Arizona State. You mentioned it, Mitch. 9-1 BYU, 8-2 Arizona State, of course. Arizona State, both of their losses came in conference play, and so BYU's got to hold serve and figure out if they can get themselves to the Big 12 championship game. If they win against Arizona State down in Tempe, they might be able to do enough to prove to everybody that, hey, move us on up in the old rankings if you're a BYU fan, and then the last week of the season, take care of business against Houston, and you got yourself berth into that Big 12 championship game. And then after that, sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Why not?
And then we only got 2 weeks left, and it's going to be 2 8-game week schedules coming up here in the Big 12 Conference as the chase to Arlington heats up. And you know what? Brett Yormark talked in the preseason at Big 12 Media Day how this was going to be an exciting race. Well, it's delivering because there's so many teams still that have a chance to get into the Big 12 championship game. This show's been brought to you by Macy's Grocery Store. Get the freshest fruits and vegetables from local farms and your favorite local brands. Macy's, happy shopping. If you missed any part of the program, subscribe to the podcast on the KSL Sports app or wherever you get your podcast. And we'll be back next week, Alex. So for Alex Kirry, Mitch Harper, our producer Eric Cabrera, we will talk to you next time here on First and 12 on the KSL Sports Zone and KSL News Radio.